Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. Wanted to do a quick video discussing knife grinds. I've done a lot of videos in the past on knives, and I had a couple of questions on those videos talking about the different grinds, asking me some questions on it. So I thought I'd make a quick video and show some of the different knife grinds and give you some real-world examples out of the knives that I got here. I do have a knife playlist. I will put a copy of that in the description for you guys. So if you've never bought a knife before, this can be a little bit of a guide for you guys. And the first is a flat grind, and a flat grind is basically a wedge shape. And I do have a example of a flat grind here. This is an SE6. It's one of my favorite outdoor survival knives, and this is a full flat grind. Now, one of the advantages of a full flat grind is these guys are easy to sharpen because there's no fancy bevel or anything at the end where you can lay this on your sharpening instrument and you can sharpen them. A flat grind is a jack of all trades, in my opinion, and it does everything adequately but nothing well. There are other grinds that do other tasks better than a flat grind, but you can do pretty much every task with a flat grind if you have to. Now, the next grind is a hollow grind, and it's sort of like a wedge, except it's tapered into a finer point. And what that does is that makes it a much better cutting tool. And hollow grinds are particularly good at slicing and dressing game, skinning deer. And this is a hollow grind. This is a buck knife, and a lot of buck knives are hollow grinds. And I think that's because the manufacturers of these intend people to field dress animals with these. And you get into like a buck 119 or a buck 110, they all have some type of hollow grind on them, which makes them very, very good at that task. Now, if I was going on a deer hunt or something, and I was staying in somebody's camper and I didn't have to like do any woodcraft or anything, I'd take a hollow grind knife. If I was going to go out and camp or stay back in the bush, I'm more likely to carry something like a flat grind knife. Now, Saber grind looks something like this. It's flat grind sort of at the bottom, but then up toward the top, it has a really, really rigid spine. Saber grind knives are particularly strong. And this is an SE5 here, and it's got that flat taper at the bottom, but then the back of the knife here is very, very stiff and very, very thick. And Saber grinds, if you want a knife to beat on, in my opinion, a Saber grind is that knife that you want, because this can take a lot of abuse. The bad thing about these guys is these guys are not very light. These are any Saber grind knife, just because it has more material in it, is typically a lot heavier, but it's a lot stouter. Like that hollow grind that goes down to a thin taper, that's much easier to break or damage that edge. So that edge I wouldn't want to be beating through wood. But if I had to use a knife as a hatchet or a pry bar, I would want something like this Saber grind SE5. Scandi grinds. Scandi grinds are straight at the back, and then they have sort of a triangle-shaped taper at the very edge. And this grind has been made popular in the United States by Mora knives, because Mora is sort of the most popular Scandi grind knife that's out there, and they're fairly inexpensive. These Scandi grind knives are particularly good for carving wood, and a lot of them will go right down to an edge. Now, this particular Mora Garberg here has a secondary bevel on it, so there's a little bit different bevel at the edge to sharpen these, but a lot of them will taper right down to the end, which makes them particularly easy to sharpen. And just like the flat grind, you just lay it on that angle, and you go to town and you sharpen it up. But these guys are extremely popular with the bushcraft community because of their ability to carve on wood. Now, the next grind here is a convex, and a convex grind is sort of bullet-shaped. And I actually have sort of one example here. It's actually a hybrid. It's actually called a Scandi Vex, where it is a Scandinavian grind, but that comes down to a convexed edge. And this is actually a Bark River Gunny Scandi. This particular knife right here is just awesome at bushcraft tasks. This carves wood just tremendously well, and that edge on there, because this particular knife is a 3V steel, it actually holds its edge really, really well. And that that convex edge on there, it peels bark off of sticks and stuff just tremendously well. And you sometimes want to take the bark off of your bushcraft projects because it allows the wood to dry out, and then of course become lighter. If you're building something to carry with you, you want it as light as possible. But the drawback on a convex edge is they're harder to sharpen. So that's why you want a little, if you're going to go with a convex edge, you want to go with a little better high-end steel so you don't have to sharpen it as much, because they're a lot more difficult to sharpen than some of the other grinds that I've showed you guys here. Now that is kind of my skinny on the different knife grinds and how I go about kind of selecting the knives for the projects or whatever outdoor task that I'm doing. So you want a flat grind for all-purpose stuff. You want a Saber grind for strength. Convex and Scandis are good for bushcraft tasks and carving wood, and then the hollow grinds are for hunting, processing game, and food prep, because they slice so darn well. But anyway, this is Modern Refugee. I appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a little information, a little entertainment out of this video here. Just discussing outdoor knives, their uses, and their grinds. You have a good one.